Thank you for joining us. I have got two very wonderful, friendly people with me. I'm going to let them tell their names and their project.
My name is Jordan Noel, and I'm the director of a movie called This World Alone.
And I'm Trisha Sullivan. I'm the cinematographer for this world alone.
Very cool. Cinematographer. So the camera is your.
Camera lighting, working the shots with this guy and making the story as interesting and visual as possible.
Very cool.
She's
Tell
a
us.
magician.
Editors are, and so are cinematographers. They take your vision and make them real. So tell us about your project.
Well, it's a post-apocalyptic thriller about three women living in the mountains in seclusion and some safety about 20 years after an apocalyptic event that has knocked out all technology and power. And it's a world that's lush and green, unlike a lot of post-apocalyptic films. We wanted to explore nature sort of reclaiming the world. And so it's a movie that deals with nature versus nurture in parenting, but also as far as coming of age. And it's a lot of fun and asks some big questions that you know that most of us have.
How long did it take you to film this project?
10 days, but technically 9.5 because we finished half a day early. So,
Yeah.
and
we had about 6 weeks of pre-production. So 6 weeks of pre-production, and knocked it out. And the whole crew just stayed 10 days straight, no days off. Yep, it was good.
yeah.
How did you find the location?
Oh, this is a good
That thank you for asking this question. So we shot in North Georgia in a town called Hiawassee, and one of our locations we had said it was a cabin that we knew was where the three women were living. But we had another location fall through, and so we were 2 weeks away from production, and we were flying out to San Diego for Comic-Con for a short film that we had out there. And Hudson, our writer-producer, on his flight sat next to a woman that he did not know, and they started talking. And it turns out she has a 5-bedroom house in Hiawassee and 200 acres of land. So they talked on that whole flight, and then met up with me right when we got there, and Trish was there too, and we just started talking and got to know this amazing woman named Michelle Moreland, and she ended up jumping on the project as an associate producer, and we stayed in her house, 22 of us, and we shot on her land, and that's how.
Beautiful. Her land was pre-dressed. It was overgrown in places. It had rivers. It had mountains. It had hillside. It had everything that we had ever dreamed and wanted.
Abandoned cars. It had everything.
Sheds and barns, and and then she is just the most generous. I mean, she was giving us her house and locations for free, and then she said, "Can I buy you food? Can I clean up after you? How can I help?" And then we needed a pig. And she literally found us a pig in like a day and a half for us to use for our movie, which otherwise wouldn't have had one of the main characters.
So now she's part of our team, and we'll be making movies with her into the future.
That is amazing.
So always talk to the person next to you on the airplane.
That's right.
And they can, if they're giving you some vibes that are like, hey, don't talk to me, you can stop. But you should always at least start talking to them. You never know who you're going to meet.
Yeah.
That's a great piece of advice. That's just like these events and networking. You can collaborate on different things.
Yeah, I've met some of my favorite people and really great friends and collaborators at film festivals or on tour playing music. Like, just be a friendly, nice person and talk to everybody. You never know.
So did you turn the power off during the shoot? That way nobody accidentally flipped the light switch as you were going?
No.
No. We did unplug and move out the refrigerator to give us
that.
Space. It was a very small location.
We just made sure everybody was so busy that they didn't have time to flip a light switch.
Yeah. And we shot a lot. We shot a lot during the day because of budgetary reasons. Even our night scenes, we used day for night. We used the sunlight as our moonlight to save money. And we knew post-production coloring and lighting up to that and stopping down in order to give it that night feel. In big production, like we had giant lights because we used the sun, which is the biggest light. And we had really good luck with weather for most of the days. Rain when we needed it, rain when we did. The only thing we shot 2 beautiful hillside landscapes. We got up really early one morning and we stayed up late the other. And both of those skies were kind of sad. But everything else was gorgeous and godsend. And so yeah.
And we knew going into it that we were just going to have to do whatever I mean, the movie is about nature versus nurture, and we knew we were going to have to either, we had to work with nature no matter what she gave us. So here we are. We got it done.
So I have one very important question. Have y'all ever been without power for an extended period of time?
Not more than a day. I mean, other than like camping, but as far as in a house, like trying to live in a space that usually has power. No. Have you?
Yes. There was there was an ice storm here in '94.
Okay.
13 days without power.
So 2 years ago, Atlanta lost power in East Atlanta for almost 2 weeks for a lot of people, and I'm over in Brookhaven going like, we lost power for 3 minutes.
No, that Atlanta maybe 5 or 6 years ago, we also lost. I think 3 days. But my kids were at grandma's, and grandma couldn't get to us, which was really very nice. And we had a bunch of friends over, and we just partied. It was awesome.
We asked the entire crew, what would you miss in a post-apocalyptic world? And a lot of people had really good answers. Mine was, of course, running water/toilets and internet. I mean, how can you live without internet searches?
That was one of the things I hated. I hated hauling water. Hated it because we had no way to get water.
Yeah.
So, what was your inspiration to convey without having power? And
I think, Hudson Phillips, the writer, I think we wanted to be able to explore these characters in a, you set up these sort of plot ideas in a way to manipulate so that you can explore the characters more fully and more interestingly. And so by essentially cutting out all those distractions for them.
No cell phones, no TV, no podcasts. So you didn't have cell phones, you didn't have TV, you didn't have podcasts. So instead of a generation where everyone's looking down at their phone and not interacting, you're forced to interact all the time. And I mean, one of the big story elements is that these characters know Peter Pan inside and out and perform it, and everything that she's ever learned, she's learned from books that she's read. It's like you talk to kids now and I don't even know if they know what a book is. Like, have they held one in their hand? Like maybe a Kindle, but it's like the idea of taking away all of that and going back to the thing that made families and communities, which is people and interaction and group games and things like that, and having somebody who's only been raised in that, but having heard about all these other things, it's phenomenal. So
it being a mother-daughter story, like the literature side of it, the books that they share gives them something relatable, even though they are polar opposites as far as mother and daughter. So it's just a fun way to explore and deal with these sorts of themes wrapped in a different kind of package.
And our characters speak to each other in movie or in novel quotes instead of movie quotes, which is something that modern kids and I always did. Like I quoted like 12 movies today already as jokes, and it's a quick reference, and so it was a nice twist on kind of a common thing we do, but in a whole new way and light. So
thank y'all so much for talking with me.
Thank you.
Enjoy yourself.
Follow us at thisworldalone.com. You can reach us there, Twitter, Instagram, and the likes of social media.
Yes. At This World Alone Film.
There you go. He's good at that.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks so much.
The story goes, as mankind became more wicked, the gods started to leave the earth. And Estrella was the last one to leave because she had compassion and hope for mankind. But even she couldn't handle all the violence and
How did you get to be so weak?
the brutality and the greed, so she eventually took her place among the stars. She brought the scales of justice with her. According to the myth, one day she'll return to Earth and end human suffering.
An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth.